Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the next edition of Mind Your P's and Q's. And as always, I am your host, Lucas Heckenberger, the craftiest of bastards in real life and on the internet. And joining me today is my very good friend and incredible wealth of knowledge when it comes to drinking games, drinking habits, drinking everything, Donna Thiel Cook. Donna, thank you for joining us today.
Hello, good to be here. And
Donna,
yeah, I'm the queen of bar trivia.
that is honestly, I have seen it in action before. And by the end of the night, I usually don't really know my name from anybody else's. And you are still there, hitting pretty much all the high notes. So it's absolutely a pleasure. I mean, I was at your house earlier today and you showed me your wine rack that was filled with not wine, but
Whiskey bottles.
yeah.
You know
like
it.
Scotch. I think I saw some Ray and Nephew overproof rum down there too.
Yes. It's kind of the overflow. You know, the top shelf stuff is obviously on the top shelf. And then there's the overflow racks.
Well, Donna, as you know, I am the kind of man who enjoys a good drink and a good time. So tonight, I think we're gonna start out with a nice little a little heavier cocktail,
Okay.
a little stirred guy,
Okay.
and you know we're just shy of a month away from St. Patrick's, so I figured we could celebrate some Irish. I know that you are a Scotch drinker.
I am.
By trade, and I know that you have an Irish whiskey based cocktail on tap at your house, right?
I do. There is a riff on a penicillin on tap.
Well, hopefully we can find some room in our livers to have a couple of those tonight, and I think we will. Call it a hunch, but I think we will.
I think we'll manage.
I did get this awesome bottle was gifted to me by Clonakilty in Ireland. They make a few different kind of Irish whiskeys. They also make an Irish gin, their Minx gin, which I made Negronis with on here last time. And I got to tell you, that made a damn fine cocktail. And one of my favorites to do is an Irish whiskey Manhattan variation known as a Tipperary. And traditionally, we would do that with some sweet vermouth, a little bit of green chartreuse. I like to stir in coffee beans with it, but we're going to do it a little bit different because you know me, Donna. I'm pretty weird when it comes to drinks and creations and that kind of thing.
No, you weird.
All right, so naturally, we're going to give a little shout out to the French. I don't know if the Irish agree with that or not. I'm sure they don't, right?
They don't.
Not many people on that island do
No.
they?
No.
So anyway, and so we started with the Irish whiskey that was aged in Roy Pitts barrels, which is made right here in Pennsylvania, Lebanon, I think. Is that where Roy Pitts is?
Yeah, out that way somewhere.
Somewhere out there. Anyway, so this is finished in a Roy Pitts. I believe it's a porter barrel. But instead of doing a sweet vermouth, I kind of wanted to create my own botanical bouquet in this cocktail. So we did some yellow chartreuse, which French liqueur, herbs, spices, think of the mountains, skiing, and then literally just a shot of that is like hot water down a ski slope, just going to rip right through you. It's so good and so hot. And then we got some Dolan Blanc. And honestly, this is my new bartender's ketchup is just a Verna. I don't really want to say ketchup, but at the same time, I don't really know how else to equate this to anything else.
Put it on everything. Ranch?
I literally, if it's got a dark spirit and it's stirred, it's probably got a Verna in it. So, and then Donna, if I'm not mistaken, you also have one of these readily available on your person, correct?
Oh yeah.
So that's good. I think it's very important that we get you a proper cocktail as we get the night started. So I did throw in coffee beans in my little contraption here at home because I just think that the way that little bit of bitterness adds to the finish is just a beautiful thing in a drink. And it's been one of my favorite go-to moves recently. And another thing I really like to do, Donna, is I like to stir with a citrus peel and not really garnish the drink after that. So I did the exact same thing with yours before I brought it over, as I actually expressed the lemon into the cocktail and stirred it in with everything to get some of that brightness in there. Okay. So honestly, it just kind of marries well with the yellow chartreuse. So, you know, and again, for everybody listening out there, for those who have not watched the show, get used to hearing this. For those who have, also get used to hearing it. If there is no citrus in a drink, do not shake it. Stir it. It is going to dilute fine and taste better and last longer. Don't worry about a thing. So anyway, here we go. Now we are Set and ready. Donna?
So if this is a Manhattan, does it get a cherry?
If you want it to. This is America, baby. You can put whatever you want in that drink.
All right.
I'm not a cherry guy. You know, I like it as a flavor additive. I just don't go for them in my drinks anymore. I don't know. I think it's the whole getting beaten down with old fashions, usually having an orange or a cherry in them. I kind of like spitefully don't go for them anymore.
All right. Well, we're going to put a Luxardo in mine.
Listen, I'm here for it. All right. Look at that beautiful coupe. To your health, Donna.
Sláinte. Oh, that's lovely.
God, that's a good drink, isn't it?
That's lovely.
That's another one that I'm going to have to take back to the restaurant I work at.
Yeah.
Shout out Notch Modern Kitchen. But like, God dang it, I really like that drink.
Wonderful.
So Donna, when did you fall in love with the craft of the cocktail, the art of good booze? I imagine it was a very long time ago.
So some of my earliest memories are, now I'm old, so my early memories go back. But in the early 70s, my mom and dad would throw house parties all the time. And of course, you know, the kids get sent up to bed, you know, up the steps you go, but you would always sneak back down in your jammies and your mom and dad's friends would fuss over you. And my dad loved to make drinks. It was just, he shot darts in a bar league and he loved to make drinks. So I would come downstairs in my jammies and get a sip out of, you know, Mom's Old Fashioned or Aunt Dorothy's Tom Collins.
Oh, wow. Hitting the classics.
Oh, yeah. Aunt June was Harvey Wallbangers. Let's see. And then, of course, Dad would make me my Shirley Temple.
Yes.
And then off I'd go to bed. But that's my earliest memories are of my dad making drinks for his friends.
Donna, here's a bar trivia question for you. What are the correct ingredients to go into a Shirley Temple?
Let's see. We used 7-Up and maraschino cherry juice and a big old maraschino cherry in it.
I think that's kind of the modernized version of it, but originally it was made with ginger ale and a pomegranate grenadine.
Oh, wow.
And I do that at a number of different restaurants I've worked at, and I get screamed at by their parents. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I will give your kids less natural sugar. Don't worry. Okay. The ginger, sure. They're going to get a bellyache. Then you're going to want ginger ale.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm just trying to be preventative here.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have grenadine, but we did have maraschino cherries always.
I think the world has enough maraschino juice to last it the rest of however long we're going to be here.
Well, I found out that the name maraschino cherries that we talk about now have nothing to do with actual maraschino cherry, which is a cherry variety that only grows in Italy and is processed into liqueur, maraschino liqueur, which is a very sweet cherry liqueur.
It's also got some pucker to it, though. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah. But they started making the imitation maraschino cherries domestically so they could use up the local cheap sweet cherries and not have to pay for the expensive imported real maraschino cherries.
Listen, I'm all for buying local. I think that's a great move. That's probably gone really, really poorly since then. Because we have these like nutrition labels on things. And I mean, I'm not trying to have that much sugar, you know?
No.
So I still, this is one of my crosses, my crosses that I bear on this show, Donna, is that I blame Stofers for all of this shit. Because if it weren't for Stofers, all right, like there are a couple things all right. Shitty cocktails, I blame on the whirring blender. Okay. I blame shit. Well, I also blame it on Prohibition. But shitty food. I'm just looking at you, Stofers. I swear, one of these days we're gonna spar on Twitter, and I'm gonna lose miserably. And that's fine. That's fine. I'm willing to die for this one.
Well, we wouldn't have cocktails if it weren't for Prohibition and shitty alcohol, because that's how cocktails got started. Was a way to mask the taste of the really bad bathtub hooch.
But it's also given me old-fashioned PTSD in a sense. And obviously PTSD is nothing to joke about. But who am I kidding? This is a bar show. Like, we're going to fucking make jokes and we're going to talk smack. Like, it just, yeah.
Anybody tuning in for political correctness should probably run now.
Oh God, no, stay. You have so much to learn. You have so much to learn. Cancel culture will happen on this. Don't worry, I'll get you there, Donna. We got some drinking to do before we get there. I mean, I know it's the Corona time and everything, but I hope you don't have to be up for work in the morning.
I mean, my commute's like 30 seconds, so you know.
And just every once in a while, that whiskey slips into coffee and just hair of the dog, get you right where you need to be.
Day drinking's a thing now. I mean, it's perfectly acceptable.
It was my birthday last week, and I got drunk twice in the day. I started with corpse survivors in the morning, which well,
that's appropriate for the morning.
I should have thought doing that in the early evening,
because it's supposed to bring you back,
right? It's supposed to bring you back from the dead.
It's a breakfast drink.
It is a breakfast drink. It's so good. It's so vitamin C out the wazoo.
Hey, you know our motto: you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning.
That is correct. Donna, what was the original fruit used for a gin and tonic?
Ooh, well, it wouldn't have been a lime.
No, it wouldn't have been a fucking lime.
Probably orange.
It was a lemon, actually.
Lemon?
Yeah, lemon's higher in vitamin C than lime is, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I mean, obviously the orange would have been better for scurvy, but
yeah.
Are oranges? No, oranges aren't strictly indigenous to the States. No. You've got tons of different. I don't know that much about it. So like one of my favorite things is bringing somebody like you on, because you know so much more about stuff than I do. But you have the sense of humor of a 17th century British sailor trying to conquer the world. So this is fucking great for me.
Yeah, I'm a fount of useless knowledge.
Well, listen, this is where I get my, it's conversations and opportunities like this where I get my little shtick to take back to the bar that people love. So just so you know, you are a hit everywhere I've ever been.
Good.
Donna, what's your favorite cocktail?
Oh, I'm going to have to go really, really old school and go with a boxcar.
Oh, shit. Okay. Tell everybody what's in a boxcar, Donna.
So it's a lot like, it's almost an old fashioned. You got bourbon, honey, lemon, and I've had it done with like a cream honey syrup. So it's like a whipped honey that they make the syrup with. So you get that creaminess. And it's a perfect balance between the sweet and the astringent from the lemon. Bourbon's got those warm caramel notes in it.
Mm-hmm, sure does.
And it reminds me of like old fashioned home remedy, cold remedy that you would get, that when I was growing up, my Nana would make it. She would take a whole honeycomb and put it in a crock. And she would cut up, like a bag of lemons, stick them in there, and then pour like 2 bottles of rock and rye on top of it and let that crock sit. And some of the honeycomb would start to dissolve a little bit. So when you had a cold, she'd scoop some out and put it in a cup of hot tea. And it coated your throat, and the citrus kind of opened up your sinuses. And of course, it made the kids sleep. So
made you a little talkative for 15 minutes, but it didn't beat the 8 hours after. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, right. So yeah,
as a parent of a young child, I wholeheartedly understand and appreciate these different kind of remedies, because now it's just jack your kid up on all kinds of shit. I don't like the way that we have gone to treating children in this society. I think there's way too many psychoactive prescription options.
Yeah, drug them for everything. Don't parent them, just give them a drug to settle them down.
Like at some point, we got to be responsible adults, and we got to understand that kids are going to be kids, and we need to just drug ourselves. All right. We are the grown ass people in the room. So drug yourself and let your kid, don't let your kid hurt anybody. Obviously, I'm not talking about malicious stuff here.
No, but
you got to let kids be kids a little bit, man. You can't riddle your way out of everything with riddle in and riddle out. I don't know.
No, you can't. And some of what we expect in school is more than the ages can handle. 7-year-olds are not meant to sit at a desk and stare at a teacher for 7 hours straight. They need to go out and run around, and recess is like gone.
15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
Lunch is like 35. Come on, give the kid an hour. Let them go stretch their legs.
Yeah, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I was still in grade school, We had 15 minutes in the morning. We had a half hour at lunch, and we had 15 minutes again in the afternoon. So we had 3 recesses. And there was usually like 2 days a week, you had some kind of gym where they would take you in the cafeteria and you'd throw balls at each other.
Yeah.
And, you know,
or the parachute, jump onto the parachute. You ever jump onto the parachute?
Oh my God, yes. Yes. Yep, the parachute, the scooters, you know, the little square scooters. Yeah.
Donna, now I know you and I are of different generations, but I went to a broke Catholic school when I was a kid. Who am I kidding? They weren't broke. The Catholic Church has never been broke, but they sure acted like it because I had the scooters, we had the parachutes.
Yep. Yeah.
And it was the gym cafeteria combo room. Yep. I do recall
Absolutely. That's what we had. Mm-hmm. I went to Catholic school through 6th grade.
Now, did you grow up in the Lehigh Valley, Donna?
Down in Boyertown.
Okay.
So I'm from around here pretty much my whole life.
And what brought you up to the Lehigh Valley then?
I went to college in Kutztown, met my now ex-husband there. We dated, got married. He was from the Lehigh Valley. His parents lived in the valley. And he got a job up here with a business forms company. So our first house was in Caddy. We had a little row house in Caddy.
Stone's throw from where I grew up.
Yeah. Yep. And then we built a house out in Kempton, and he kept that after we split. And I bought my house. We co-parented our son. It was a good split, but I like it here. The Lehigh Valley is great because hour and a half I can be up in Manhattan, hour and 15 I can be in Philly, 2 hours I can be in Baltimore. Everything's here.
On a good day in 4 hours, you could be in Boston.
Yeah. Housing's reasonable. Taxes are reasonable. There's a good economy. There's a lot of work. I mean, not right now because everybody's locked down, but
it's funny though. Like I happen to agree. Now I've only lived in the state of Pennsylvania between growing up in the Lehigh Valley. I moved down to Philadelphia when I was when I went to undergraduate the first time around. Yeah. I moved back up here and knocked up my now ex-girlfriend, and we have a 6-year-old, which is awesome. And for the life of me, I never thought that I was going to make roots here. I didn't think that the Lehigh Valley was where I wanted to be. Yeah. And I agree with you though. Like the convenience, the pricing is reasonable. I really feel like we have this really unique bubble in the Lehigh Valley because we are in the center of so many big things around us. Yes. And yet we don't feel the effects of these weird political and societal shifts and all this weird shit that happens in the surrounding areas.
Yeah. And I mean, things have gotten like our culture and bar and restaurant scene has just blossomed the last 10 years. I mean, just, it's crazy. I go all over the place, and I've sat in restaurants in Manhattan and looked at my husband and said, we can get better than this at home for half the price. So, and I deal with a lot of, in my work, we recruit engineering talent from all over the world. I work for Lutron Electronics.
Okay.
Shout out to Dimmers.
Shout out Lutron.
Shout out for Dimmers.
Sponsor this podcast, Lutron.
That's right. Just kidding. And one of the things that people are concerned about is that, this little hick town, and it's like, come with me, children. Let me show you things. You don't know what's here. And people are surprised when they go out and find out the nightlife that's here, the quality of food that's here. It's good. It's right up there with anywhere you're going to go.
I agree with you. I do think it's good. I think it could be better, personally.
It can always be better.
But it is good.
Yeah.
It's very good. I agree. They're not wrong though. Some of these people coming from out of town, because like they're 25% right that there are plenty of hick towns around us.
Yes.
But a lot of them have their own charm too. It's like they're kind of catching up.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice to be here where I can go 5 minutes and be, in a great restaurant having great food, and then go 15 minutes the other way and be in just cornfields and nothing.
It turns out there's a pub in the middle of the cornfield.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got a great home brewer and some moonshine if you're really nice.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, it's funny because for me growing up, the Lehigh Valley, Allentown was the city. You know, I mean, I literally grew up on a dairy farm. So for us, you know, it was either you went down to King of Prussia, which was, you know, woo, or you came up here to the Lehigh Valley Mall. I mean, that was the big deal. When I was in high school, that was the thing, was to come up to the Lehigh Valley Mall. I mean, that was, you know, fancy.
Was that actually the Lehigh Valley Mall, or was that the Whitehall Mall?
No, it was Lehigh Valley Mall.
Okay, because I don't know how long that mall's been. I mean, I grew up.
Yeah.
I am a product of suburban spread. So
Lehigh Valley Mall was the first one there. Whitehall developed over time because it started out as a couple of independent shops. Then they built connections for them, and so
makes sense. When I think about the layout, it makes sense.
Yeah. Lehigh Valley Mall was a big deal when it was built. I mean, because malls were just starting, and there was one in King of Prussia. I don't think Newtown had it yet. I think Reading started theirs, and Lehigh Valley, and it was like a big deal. All these big stores that you couldn't go to unless you went to Philly before. So yeah, and I remember when Hess's was downtown, and that was, my mom would bring me up every year right before Christmas. They did their fashion show. You had lunch in their patio restaurant, and they had the fashion show. The models all walked around, and that was like, I mean, you know, for an 8-9-year-old girl, that was just like, oh my God, it was the height of fashion. It was amazing. And we'd dress up to come up and shop. And that's the other thing. I'm old enough to remember when people dressed up to go shopping.
Now it's like I got Hello Kitty pants on and a mask, and you can see my right boob, and I'm good.
Oh, there's stuff you'll never see. I just
Let's go to Target.
Yeah, eye bleach. I need the eye bleach. Man, nobody wants to see that, honey.
Now, have you ever gone onto the people of Walmart.com and just like, that was a thing 10 years ago? Oh, rough.
Yeah, I don't have to go online. I can just go to Walmart.
The denigration of society. I'll tell you what. I love it. I do blame strip malls and Stouffer's. Stouffer's still gets a lot of the blame. Do not get me wrong. I am never going to let up on Stouffer's.
Those delicious carbs, man.
And just a whole lot of sodium.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good. Donna, I quit smoking.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've been smoking for 13 years. I quit smoking a month ago. Over a month ago. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what COVID did to me. Made me a quitter. Damn bastard COVID. Now I quit.
Okay. My
dad always told me quitters never win and winners never quit.
Well.
And then he'd shotgun a Coors Light. I'm just kidding. My dad was never like that. My dad is so calm and cool. It's like, how the hell did this happen? But
you didn't actually quit. You're just a long time between cigs.
No, I'm good. I'm a quitter. I'm a quitter in this regard, and that's fine.
This
is one of those things where, you know, I got a young kid, getting married. I'm 34 years old. Like, I can't be doing this shit forever.
It's time to let your lungs clean out.
They're really nice, though. I really enjoyed them. I kind of miss them, but not that much.
Yeah, I know. I gave that up years ago and was glad I did. But wow, quitting was brutal. We didn't have like patches and gum and stuff. It was just, you had to suck it up, Buttercup. And the thing I remember most is the nightmares. I had the most vivid nightmares when I quit. Holy cow. I mean, like night terror kind of nightmares.
I mean, like the week after I quit, I had like 2 dreams where Donald Trump and I were friends in my dream. And that's when I was like, all right, I can't smoke another. Maybe I should. I can't. Like, legitimately, I had 2 dreams where me and Donald Trump were like buddies. And I was like, that's fucking weird. But whatever, man. I was in the White House. It's cool.
There's something interesting in the subconscious there. Wow.
I don't want to explore it. I'll get a psychologist on at the end of the month, and then we'll see.
Just let those demons lie.
That's the plan. But I will say this, like, to your point. So the first time I ever tried to quit, I think I was like 25 years old. I thought it would be a really good idea that every time, and this was before I was like a parent and like settled as an adult. I thought it'd be like, all right, every time I want a cigarette, I'm going to light up a joint. And guess what? That was even more expensive and detrimental to my health, just from a pure standpoint of me interacting with people. So that didn't work.
Yeah.
Tried it cold turkey the next time. I lasted 2 or 3 days. That didn't work.
It's brutal.
And then I just like I got the gum. All right. My wife used the patch and she was good. Robin was good. She was like done in like a week and a half, 2 weeks. I got the gum. And what the gum used to make me do is every time I would eat a piece, I would hiccup violently for 5 minutes. And by the time I was done hiccuping, Donna, I didn't want a cigarette anymore. I just didn't have one. I was like, please, God, just don't let me hiccup again. Oh, I want to have a cigarette. Nope, time for a hiccup.
See, I timed it well. I quit when I was in college and I was broke. I mean, broke. Because I put myself through college. I paid my own way through everything. And they had just jacked up the prices in the machines. I don't even remember what it was, but I went to get a pack and I looked at the new price on it and I was like, this shit. I am not paying that for cigarettes. No. And okay, I'm going to quit. So when I started to really Jones, I had just paid my rent. So I was literally broke. And I really wanted cigarettes. I had nothing to buy them with. So I kind of had to get through the hump because I literally couldn't afford to go buy them. I had nothing. There's zero in my bank account.
There was a guy that I knew when I went to school at Temple University, and he was very similar where he was paying himself through and he dropped a couple vices, and his vice was cannabis. And I remember like I used to purchase a larger quantity and I would sell smaller quantities to friends of mine so that my quantity would not be accounted for in the total of the amount for the larger. I would sell enough that I smoked for free. And every time I sold this guy a bag of weed, I would see him pull out a calendar and he would sit there. And obviously I don't do that anymore. Everything I do is completely legal in regards to cannabis. Thank you.
We all did stupid things.
Aspects, right? And anyway, I would literally see this guy pull out his calendar and he would start putting buds on the days of the calendar. And he would literally ration it out until he would have enough money for another bag. And I was just like, holy shit, man, I don't know what it's like to be hard off in that regard. I've had a job since I'm 16 years old, 15, like 14 or 13 really, but like, holy shit. So wild. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was kind of a, when I turned 18, my mom and dad were split by then. My dad and my stepmom were married. They had, her kids they were raising. And my mom is kind of a hard ass. And, I love her dearly, but there are days that I don't always like her. And when I was 18, it was basically like, well, okay, you're 18, out you go. I'm like, huh? No, you're grown up now. You need to go do your thing.
See ya.
Yeah, pretty much. So off I went to college, and I had saved a lot working through high school and everything. So I could cover my tuition. I had some grants, but living expenses and everything else was just, and I worked the whole time I was in college. I worked on campus. I did a DA stint for a while, and then I got an RA stint so I could get my housing paid.
Yeah.
Had a part-time job at the Acme downtown and stocked shelves at night and baked cheesecakes to sell. And
oh, I suck at cheesecakes. I suck at baking in general.
I love cheesecake. That was, the little shit apartment I had a double gas oven in it, which was just like heaven.
A double
so
oven.
A double oven. I mean, it was a third floor walk up and it was an absolute shithole, but it had a double gas oven. So I baked cheesecakes.
You made out like a bandit there.
Oh yeah.
I had a double oven once, and my mom was so jealous to the point where she went and fucking bought herself one. And I was just like, really? This is what you do? Okay. Okay, great. You can do that. Go ahead. They bought it from Allentown Appliance. So at least they didn't buy it from Sears, right?
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know. Don, I don't know about you, but I'm done with my first cocktail.
Just about.
Well, we had the I'm going to switch gears here for just a second. We had that Clonakilty finished in the barrel, but now we just have their standard triple distilled Irish whiskey. Look for the blue label and the whale tail at the top. All right. That's what you guys want to look for. I actually don't think you can buy Clonakilty in the stores yet in PA because we have the absolute worst liquor laws in.
Yeah, we do.
Well, we actually have the second worst liquor laws in the country. I'll give you a guess. Which state has it worse than us?
Oh God.
It's nowhere near us.
It's got to be somewhere in the South.
Nope.
No.
There is also a religious undertone to some of the laws that were made in this part of the country.
Utah?
Boom. Nailed it. Of course you nailed it.
Utah.
Of course you nailed it. You get, it's like the 30-second, we're scrolling down and it's like, all right, I'm losing points, but I get this one hint. All right, I'm about to lose points. It's Utah.
Got it.
So we are going to go to the classic penicillin.
Yes.
Well, not so classic because, I might be a classically trained man, but I do believe in the modernity of things. I really like looking at traditional ways of doing things and then repurposing, reconfiguring. Technology has made our lives a lot easier. We are the masters of manipulation when it comes to the environment around us.
Yep.
And I'll be damned if I'm not going to do that with my drinks, my ingredients, and everything that goes in it too. So
absolutely.
What normally goes in a traditional penicillin, Donna?
That would be, Irish whiskey and simple syrup and lemon, and usually put a nice float of smoky scotch on top.
Give me that island. The Scots and the Irish. Whoever would have thought that they collaborated on a cocktail, right?
Oh, they'd probably kill each other if they knew.
Well, I thought
penicillin was
Clonakilty. Tune into the podcast and spread it across the island, okay? Get your ass in trouble.
Penicillin's an American drink.
Incredible. Of course it is. Incredibly enough. We didn't always know how to make the best stuff. And then we did know how to make the best stuff. Yeah. And then we stopped physically making the best stuff. And now we just creatively and idealistically put together some of the best stuff. So in ours today, though, Donna, we are not using a standard simple syrup. We are using a honey syrup. I know you gave me a little sample of your honey syrup.
Yes.
I don't go as rich as you do in terms of my proportions and flavorings. I like to keep it honestly, this just comes from functionality of working in a bar.
Yep.
Is that I need something that's going to pour quick.
Yeah.
I need something that's going to pour efficient. So we usually do a 1-to-1 ratio.
Yep.
For a penicillin. And instead of doing a Scotch float, I actually added mezcal into this cocktail and shook everything in.
Nice.
A little pinch of Angostura, because honestly, I feel like anytime you have ginger in something, you should add just a little touch of Angostura because that backbone just gets strengthened a little bit more.
Yeah.
I was going to make a joke about Lindsey Graham, and I think it just speaks for itself right now.
Well, Lindsey Graham.
Don't worry. I'm going to make fun of my lefties too. Don't worry.
Hey, you know me. I'm a libertarian. They all hate me.
Listen, I hate everybody passionately. All right. That's the key to this world. And I don't take anybody seriously. Certainly not myself. So.
No, my political beliefs are pretty much a pox on both your houses.
Well, there's only one house and then there's a Senate, Donna. I'm just kidding.
Well.
All right. So we've got citrus in this one, guys. I'm going to shake this. I'm really sorry, Donna, that this, honestly, this microphone's great though. Cause honestly, you're just going to hear mostly me talking and not the shaking so much. That's what I like about this microphone. So
that's the direction on that is really tight.
Thanks.
You're not getting a lot of the background noise at all.
Excellent. Because, I have a 6-year-old, 3 dogs in my house right now.
Yeah.
And a very wonderful soon to be Mrs. Heckenberger.
Yeah. Shadow's been in and out a couple of times to see what mom's doing.
Oh, see, once I throw the headphones on and start talking this much, the dogs just leave me alone.
Yeah.
It's like most people, they hear me talking this much. They're like, I'm leaving this guy alone.
Yeah. He's used to it from me having meetings for work, but usually if I'm on meetings at work, I've got it on my phone for audio because we're all way past the having video meetings. We're just done with that. So I tend to walk around and I roam while I'm in meetings because I think better when I walk. And it's nice to be able to actually sit in meetings and be able to walk around instead of being butt in a chair in some overheated conference room while somebody does their PowerPoint slide deck and you just had lunch and you start going. Oh, wait, was I snoring? I'm so sorry.
Is that drool? You guys can't see this. My webcam is shit.
Yeah.
But if you've got the newest phone, oh no. If you've got a Samsung, you're going to get caught every time because the cameras on those are so much better than Apple.
Yeah, that's what I have. I have a Galaxy.
And I have some penicillin. Well, a non-traditional penicillin.
And I'm about to have some. I'm going to get a little ice.
Yeah. You do you, Donna. And just remember, kids, everybody out there listening, cocktails like this are literally going to cure common ailments for you. Like a lot of the ingredients that go in here, we're using fresh honey. We are using fresh lemon juice. The Angostura bitters were made by the chief medic for Simon Bolivar's army when he liberated Bolivia. God help me, back in the 1700s. Like, we've got some really good. I mean, whiskey is good for the body. That's why it was prescribed as medicine during Prohibition. Like this is why we do what we do. And I mean, Don, obviously, if you taste this and you want to float some Islay on top, get at it. Do whatever you want.
Oh, that's lovely.
I haven't made you a drink in far too long.
I know. I don't think it needs the float, but if I was going to float, I've got a bottle of Connemara back there, which I would probably float.
That makes sense. The only Islay that I have right now is some Lagavulin I got gifted for Christmas. And
we've got Isla out the wazoo. There's 3 expressions of Ardbeg back here. There's a Highland Park. There's Bunabin. There's the Balvenie. 2 bottles of Mac and an Oban and a Glenmorangie. We like our scotch.
And that's the podcast, guys. No, I'm just kidding.
Like our scotch.
And I went with the mezcal. I have been on an agave kick.
That's nice.
For the last like 8 months, and it's unreal. And I use the Del Maguey, the Vita mezcal.
Yeah.
It comes in this pretty green bottle. It's really, really grassy. And I feel like it has this like unripe melon undertone to it as well. And I think it just blends in like this Clonakilty is really solid Irish whiskey.
Now, mezcal is a great way to get that smoke, and people overlook it. People overlook mezcal. It's like, I think there's this perception that somehow mezcal is rough or unfinished compared to tequila. And that's not it at all. It's a different process to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find mezcal to have a lot of complexity. It has a lot of personality.
It's a bourbon meets an Islay Scotch meets a tequila with its own brand as a crazy uncle at the fiesta that you didn't even know you had. Like it's really bizarre. And honestly, I feel like because tequila had a bad name for so long that people just automatically put mezcal right with it. They're like, oh, what do you got to drink the worm?
Yeah.
And here's the problem. All right, mezcal's expensive.
Yes, it is.
No which way you look at it. There is no like really good $20 bottle of mezcal. That's just not a thing. No. I could point you to Evan Williams bottled in bond as an $18 10-year aged bourbon that is very sufficient in terms of like a sipper at home at a good price point.
Yep.
There is no such thing of that for mezcal. There are some tequilas like that.
Yeah.
Luna Azul, Tres Agaves, Casadores. There are some ones that are really good at that $20-ish price point. Mezcal, you got to pay $38 a bottle for a good bottle of mezcal.
Yeah, mezcal's either expensive or undrinkable. There's nothing in between.
Well, we have the undrinkable, which is the Monte Alban, which is this gold bottle. It looks like they stuccoed a Jose Cuervo gold tequila bottle, right? On the side of a hill, and that's where they actually got the mezcal from.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you've got some other ones, and like there are more age statements and different things that go with mezcal, like really like well-aged tequila.
Yeah,
I will put next to scotch.
Oh,
in
absolutely.
terms of like a sipper going well with a cigar.
Absolutely.
That kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Mezcal is the same way. I got blackout drunk on a new mezcal a couple months ago and smashed my knee off my front porch. And it was like, I was sitting outside with my friend drinking all night and I got hammered and it was so good. It was
just
like
goes
a Russian,
down so easy.
Russian drinking vodka.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We actually have, I think we still have some. So it's called Santo. And it's a mix between Blanco tequila and the mezcal. So it's a blend. And it is fantastic.
I would try that. I mean, I'll try anything twice, but.
It was started by what used to be Sammy Hagar's tequila.
Casa Noble?
Yeah, what? No, not that one. Cabo Wabo.
That's Clooney, my bad. Cabo Wabo.
Yeah, Cabo Wabo. But yeah, and I think somebody else famous bought into it now. But man, it's really smooth because that blend of the Blanco tequila smooths out some of the rough edges of the mezcal and makes it go down easier, which is terrifying. But,
I think it's wonderful because agave spirits are the only uppers out of any alcohol created. The residual sugar in the piña of the plants that make up this spirit, like it's the only upper. So I love.
Yeah.
Give me all the agave. That's one of my favorite. I mean, I haven't had. I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, Steve Pollock. Shout out.
Yeah.
Pollock, whatever. You're a Pollock, Steve. You're a Pollock. Anyway, he mentioned that I haven't had a Scotch daiquiri in a while, and that's because I've been making mezcal daiquiris.
Yeah.
Because it's honestly more versatile in terms of stuff that I can add in there.
Yep. Ooh, I haven't had a good daiquiri of any kind in a while.
Donna, you haven't come and visited me at Notch in a little bit.
It's been a while. Well, I never know your schedule, so.
I know. We'll deal with that later. That's neither here nor there right now.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
That's not what's important. What's important is that we're having a good time, having a drink.
I do have to ask you about something at Notch, though. Don't let me forget.
Go ahead. I'm an open book.
Oh, the tasting table. Have they started that? The chef's table. Have they started that back up yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll do up to 8.
8. Okay, good. Because that's our date night group is 8.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that for our bunch. So
listen, I'll make sure that Donna, you just give me a call. I'll make it happen for you. Okay. We
awesome.
Can absolutely do that. We can absolutely do that. We can put together a cocktail pairing, whatever you want.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Whatever you want. But it's got to be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because those are the days that I work. So.
It's always a Saturday for us.
Awesome. And so Donna, what'd you want to be when you were a kid? I'm just curious.
Archaeologist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was fascinated with, I think it was 5th grade. We did a unit on ancient Egypt, and I was just blown away. So I was going to go dig up all the pyramids, and then I was going to be an artist. So I started college as a fine arts major, and I realized that I hate creating to someone else's specs. And if you want to be commercially successful while you're still living, you need to go into something like graphic design or something else where you get a paycheck. And I hated it. I hated doing assignments of, you have to use this color on this paper, on this size. And I was just like, yeah, nope. So I had taken a computer class kind of as a lark and found out I was really good at it and I liked it. And so here I am. I'm an IT analyst and have been for 30 some years. And having survived the ultimate boys club.
Shit, yeah. I imagine you put quite a number of them in their place along the way too.
A few, yeah. Yeah, a few.
So Donna, on that note, in terms of IT analysts and, where we've come in the last 10 years to 30 years and in the last 5 for that matter, we're honestly approaching moderately autonomous vehicles. We're approaching almost fully autonomous and capable warehouses. Like what role does that play with Lutron? Where do you see that going? Can you just open my eyes a little bit to what's going to happen coming down the line?
Lighting controls. People think about, the little switch on the wall, you turn it off and on, or the little dimmer that you turn in the dining room. It's got the little rotary. But what Lutron's doing is they've taken that to the next level where we've got smart dimmers, whole home lighting systems that you can control from an app on your phone. We've done the lighting controls for the Statue of Liberty, which is a massive computer controlled system that does lighting based on time of day, season, all sorts of things. Home automation is a big thing now, and the convenience of it is great. But if you also start to think about how those spaces play with people with physical challenges and disabilities. So if I'm wheelchair bound and I can control all the lighting and shades in my home from an app on my phone, suddenly I have a lot more independence than I did in my space before. So it's not just the aesthetics of it, although the aesthetics matter. There are a lot of studies that show that having correct lighting increases your mood, increases your productivity, increases your health. The wrong lighting messes with your circadian rhythms and prevents you from sleeping. The wrong lighting can give you eye strain and headaches. So it's not just the brightness, it's also the color temperature. And what I'm really excited about with my company is we just entered into an agreement with a startup that we purchased called Ketra. And they're taking advantage of LED technology to do all the colors so that your dimmer doesn't just turn your lights up and down, but it can completely change the color palette from warm to cool.
Now,
if you want to set a mood for something, intimate settings tend to have dimmer lighting and warmer lighting, where if you want productivity, you need it brighter and cooler. So being able to integrate all that into our control systems is really interesting.
And now would something like that require a different kind of a light bulb, or would it require multiple bulbs to be installed as part of the feature? Or
so yeah, that was part of it. Ketra's innovation was putting the multiple filaments in a single bulb. So for an LED, each color you use has its own little strand. And they were able to package them into bulbs that will fit into normal base sizes. So you can screw in a bulb that fits in a normal fixture, or you can have a tube that fits into a normal overhead that used to be fluorescent. So that was the part that they figured out. And they got to a point where, okay, we have this great thing. We don't know what to do with it. And we partnered with them to come up with control software. And it soon became clear that to get the kind of distribution networks, everything they needed, it made more sense for them to just come into our family. So we now have that. We have our original dimmer, manufacturing. Everything's manufactured in the States. And we also have motorized shading that we created. So we've got kind of the whole home automation thing going now, and everything from, you can go to Home Depot and pick up our Caseta dimmers, which is, when you guys were over earlier, Robin was looking at the control that I have Velcroed on my couch.
Yeah.
So that's our Caseta product. There's a plug-in on one of my walls where I've got my 2 wall lamps plugged in. And then that tiny little controls the lights from anywhere I want to be. And I stick it on the side of the couch so we don't lose it. And so the dog doesn't eat it. So the dog doesn't eat it.
I was going to say, I figure you just stick it on the dog, right on his neck, behind his.
Oh, God.
That's like the one spot that they can't get.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So my dog Champ I have 2 dogs. I have Champ and I have Johnny Walker. I believe that you know this. Pictures. Johnny and Shadow are almost the exact same size. I think Johnny's got a little more girth to him.
Yeah.
Because he likes to eat, but I think Shadow's a little longer, a little taller.
Yeah.
Champ and Shadow are around the same length and the same height, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's funny. Champ I had surgery on had to be done with him a couple weeks ago. He had it is now known to be a benign tumor on his back leg that was taken off, and they recommended the cone.
Oh yeah, the cone is strange.
And I said to them, "Hey, you got to give me the biggest cone you got, because I'm pretty sure that my dog's going to be able to reach his stitches anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And sure as shit, they gave me like a 23-inch around whatever. They were like, oh yeah, this will be great. This will be great. And shout out to Staying Line Veterinary. They do a wonderful job. I love the people that work there. They're amazing. But my dog could still reach his stitches.
Yeah.
So I know that the only place that he cannot reach is behind his head, like at the base of his skull where the neck meets.
Yep.
It's the only place my dog can't get to. And I imagine your dog is probably pretty similar.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He can. Yeah. The positions he gets himself into, I just look at it and go, how is that comfortable?
Yoga.
Really? Well, and he's like a pro at getting the paws all braided together. It's like,
oh, he does the crisscross applesauce, just like Johnny Walker does the same thing. We've had Johnny Walker since May, so we probably got him a couple months before he got Shadow. But he'll literally just lay on and turn it upside down.
Oh my God!
Mouth open and smiles everywhere. I always post pictures saying that my dog is broken.
IKEA. This is what happens when you get your dog from IKEA.
I got my dog from a ranch in Coatesville, and I got yelled at. Well, I got yelled at while we were there because Champ. We've got to take the other dog with us for them to have a meet and greet. And Champ peed on the owner's flowers, and she got very upset. And I was like, "Are you you own a ranch? You have 300 acres with animals.
And you're
still holding on to getting mad about flowers being peed on."
Wow. We got Shadow from the sanctuary at Hafsville, and they're just an absolutely fantastic rescue organization. I mean, just amazing.
One of the dogs that's in my house laying on my couch right now is from the sanctuary at Hafsville. It is my mom's dog.
Okay.
And they are out of town. And I agree. Hafsville is incredible. What was it like with Shadow when you guys first got him, and what was Hafsville kind of saying to you guys? Did they give you like the real brass tacks about it, or did they give you shit?
Absolutely. So by the time we got him, Shadow had been at the sanctuary for a year, and they had tried to place him. They would take him, a family would take him overnight and give him back the next day. Shadow has fear aggression, and he's not certain about people he doesn't know. It takes him a while to know people. Now, his story was apparently his first rescue was a woman who is affiliated with Hafsville, like a volunteer, saw this puppy on Craigslist, 6-month-old puppy, free, just come get him. Well, that's usually not a good situation. I mean, people that love their animals are not giving them away on Craigslist at 6 months. So she pulled him off of Craigslist and took him to the sanctuary to get him rehomed. The first home that he had, I think she had him almost a year and turned him back in because she said that the dog bit her sister. Now, we now know he's got vision issues, and we're pretty sure he has a seizure disorder. So both of those things are going to make a dog very frightened. He doesn't see things clearly, so he reacts. And when they come out of a seizure, they're very disoriented. They don't know where they are. They don't quite know what's going on. And if you happen to come up on a dog right then and just kind of like, ooh, pet, 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 they might snap at you because they're not altogether there yet. So he had a lot of challenges. So by the time we came along, they were being very honest about the fact that he had issues. And when we first met him, they had him out at the park at Lane, and they had him on the leash and everything. And as soon as we came up, the hackles went up, he growled. It was very clear that he was wary about the fact that there's somebody he doesn't know. But we walked him, we walked around with him, and, after 15 minutes or so, he was fine. He was relaxing. Then they brought him over to the house to see, then walk around the backyard, see how that went. Then we had him for overnight. And the whole time they were like, okay, and we're serious about this. He has challenges. He has issues. Well, yep, we got it. And I think it was a good fit. Max, our last rescue, had just passed away about a month before, and we were starting to look for another dog, and Shadow was there, and he needed someone that, no children in the house, quiet house. I'm working from home full time right now with COVID, so I can be around him all day. And it just worked out. But yeah, they were very honest. They didn't sugarcoat it. They didn't hide it, because they wanted to make sure they got him somewhere that could handle him. Because if he bites somebody again and winds up back at the shelter, it's not going to be a good outcome. He's then got, multiple bites on his record. So yeah,
He probably would have got put down.
Yeah. Well, Sanctuary wouldn't have. They'd have found a way
Right.
to
They're a
keep
no-kill
him,
shelter.
but they wouldn't have been able to adopt him out. And that's not what they want. They want the best outcomes for these dogs. So they were very careful to make sure that, we were a good fit, that we could handle him, that we were dog savvy enough to work with him. And he's coming around. It's a long road, but he didn't get where he is overnight. And I don't expect him to turn into just like happy, shiny puppy overnight either.
But all right. So one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about Shadow is because I wanted to talk, I wanted to speak about your character as a human being, as well as your partners. I understand that you guys are both in this, but, one of the things I've always admired about you is your ability to see past whatever kind of limits people put on from a perception standpoint of just seeing and not understanding. And it's something that I think is really, really missing in this world. I feel like most, and it's just my opinion from my experiences and things that I see, being around hundreds of people a week working in a busy restaurant, most people would just kind of dismiss this kind of thing. And they would, I see it way more often than I would really like to, where people see something like this, someone in need, and they're just kind of like, oh, that sucks. Yeah. And they walk on by. Yeah. And instead of actually inquiring and figuring things out. Yeah. And like I said, I think it speaks to your character a lot. And I think it speaks to just, how we kind of view stuff as a society. And I mean, you've been working in tech for 30 years or however long. Yeah. And yet you still find the humanity in everything. And how do you stay so grounded, and how do you stay so reasonable, open-minded, optimistic, and just accepting?
I think part of it is, I think in some ways people have things too easy. Their lives are easy.
What do you mean by that?
So my parents divorced when I was 10, and my dad was an alcoholic. We had a home that had domestic violence. It was not pretty, but we all survived it. And I learned to find the bright spots in things. When my dad was sober, he was the king of my universe. So I learned the difference between this person did bad things and this person is a bad person. They're not the same thing. Everyone can do bad things. Everyone can make bad choices and make mistakes. That doesn't mean they're a bad person at their core. It means they took a bad path.
And they're human beings.
Yeah.
It's just what human beings do.
I think sometimes if you've had adversity in your life, it gets easier to look past other people's adversity, because that, well, yeah, okay, I had this stuff happen to me and I made some bad choices as a result of it, but I went forward and I learned and I grew and I got better. We have generations now that have had everything so micromanaged from the time they're born to make sure that they're never frustrated, they're never frightened, they're never challenged. So when something comes along that doesn't fit into their neat worldview, they've got no frame of reference for it. They don't know what to do with it. So either it's frightening and I have to run away from it, or it's bad and I have to fight it, instead of trying to deal with the problem and say, okay, how did we get here and how can we go somewhere else? Because they've not had that own experience in their own lives. Everything's been too easy. We don't let our kids suffer. We don't let them fail. We don't let them fall. We don't let them struggle with their homework or their projects or anything else. We want everything to be neat and easy, and for there never to be a tear. And that's not life. And if you don't learn to deal with that when you're a child, when the consequences are small, then what's going to happen when you're an adult and you have no frame of reference to deal with it? And the consequences are huge.
I agree with very much of that. I might disagree with some of it, but I agree with most of it. Yeah, the lack of adversity is astounding.
Yeah.
I think, you know, if you look back over the course of history of America, let's say, and let's ignore all of the horrible truths of our history for a minute and focus on the white man's story with it. And there is still so much struggle with that. Like, I'm not trying to disregard, you know, the struggle of indigenous races, of the enslavement of Africans, the enslavement of the Irish, the internment of the Japanese. I'm not trying to disregard any of that. But if you look at it over the course of the American experiment, in the last 60 years, this has been the easiest shit in the history of humankind.
Yeah.
And with this kind of pacifist society, it's bred pacifist and slightly unable to handle and negotiate certain difficulties in this world, the harsh realities of loss, the harsh realities of not being the best at everything you do, the harsh reality that you actually have to work hard. Unless you're super duper wealthy, like there are exceptions. But like at the same time, like I tend to agree with most of what you're saying. Is that we have, and that I think speaks to something I said earlier, that we are the masters of manipulation of the environment, which has created this society. And I'm an idiot when it comes to IT, but I know, at least I think, and it seems pretty obvious to me that we are approaching a point with the technological advances that we're going to be making life easier as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To the point where we might be able to escape it to an extent, more so than we do now.
Yeah. And that brings the question of then what are we going to do with ourselves? Because if you get to a point where the world's so automated that, you know, you don't have to cook your food, you don't have to wash your clothes, you don't have to drive your car, everything's just done.
Tech companies no longer extrapolate data based off your choices on social media platforms. They actually put those ideas in your head and you go and buy it instead, and it made it easier for them, right? Yeah,
right. But as a species, we're wired to look for challenge. It's what we are. And when you take everything that's challenging away, that's when you start to find people falling into these toxic mindsets, because they have to have something to be a challenge. So you start inventing things. And it's not always a healthy path. So, you know, one of the comments I made, every New Year's, I write a long Facebook post that's just kind of like wrapping up the year.
I love reading those posts, by the way. I've known you for probably 6 years at this point. I love reading those posts.
And, you know, one of the things that I mentioned one year was that, you know, everybody thinks the world's so bad, but we have the luxury of being concerned about things like racial equality and rights for transgendered individuals and all these things, because we have lived in safety and comfort for so long that we can now turn our attention to these other kinds of issues. Countries that are constantly war-torn are not beating their breasts about how they treat their gay society members. They don't have the time to do it. And it's great that we do, but we should be grateful that we're at a place where we can turn our attention to that. It's a sign that we are safe, that we're secure, that we're economically stable, because we have the energy to now start to deal with these other issues that, if you're trying to make sure that you've got food and your country's not being invaded, you can't deal with. So it's a blessing that we can do these things, that we can have those conversations.
I
I
agree
think
with
we
that.
lose sight of that.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. It's a very much being this society where we're kind of taught to have something to war against.
Mm-hmm.
I think 100 years ago, it was more like the ingenuity of the American spirit and how we work together and build a greater nation together. And in the last 70 years, I'd say it's been more of a, these are our enemies and these are the things that we have to fight against. And it was people originally, and then it became ideologies. But what scares me is not just the divide amongst people, but the level of offense that people take when to use a catchphrase, to feel your feelings, essentially. Like that's in my opinion, that's kind of what we're learning to do. There have been breakthroughs in the way that we can study the brain, the functions, the makeups, the wires that connect us. But then also coming to grips with those things. There's so much pushback. How do we break through and try and build a bridge that we can all, like, we can't have the troll and only 3 Billy Goats Gruff anymore. We want everybody to cross the bridge and be able to use the bridge whenever they want. But
I think part of it is, it's like anything else. When you're in that period of transition, it's all sharp edges. Eventually we'll have gotten past this point, and all the things that seem to be pain points now will have been smoothed out, and they'll just be part of normal life. But when you're in the age when things are changing and you're having to deal with that change, then everything's in sharp relief because it's new and nobody knows what to do with it. There aren't any rules yet. Society hasn't moved to accommodate it. It's not normal because it's not the way it's been done for the last 50 years. So anybody that lives through a period of a lot of social change probably had these same experiences. And it's not the sort of thing that you'll find in history books, but you do sometimes find it when you get people's journals and things like that.
Wholeheartedly.
And you hear what it was like to live through those periods of change. And it's really no different than what we're going through now of, when you went through the first getting women to vote. I mean, it was complete social upheaval and vocal protests and this and that. And now, of course, we're like, well, of course women vote. Why wouldn't they?
I've never read about the outrage from the patriarchy in regards to women gaining access to vote. I've never in any of the history books, and that's probably me not doing my homework. I have no doubt that there was a humongous backlash. But where we are now, 100 years later, we don't read about that because it's not
that movement. I mean, there were men that actually horsewhipped their wives in the public square because they were involved with the suffrage movement.
I'm not surprised. There are very few things about history that surprise me anymore.
Yeah. So anytime you go through these great societal upheavals where you're upsetting the status quo and building a new normal, there's a lot of angst and pain and energy around it.
I don't get that. I don't understand why there's so much angst and pain. Like, I don't understand why it's anybody else's business how anybody else wants to identify. I don't understand every different variation of how people prefer their pronouns to be called, but I don't care at the end of the day. I want to know, I want to learn, but I will gladly, in the meantime, call a person whatever they prefer to be called. And it's almost like we're going through our own not a revolution, but an enlightenment of sexuality to an extent in the States, which has been suppressed for the entirety of this nation being a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just this nation. It's throughout the whole of history. Anything outside of the heterosexual norms had a stigma to it. And some of that's survival instinct. It's, lizard brain saying, no, this is how the species reproduces. So keep us going.
I'll point you to a seahorse then, friends. Just kidding.
He carries that baby, but it still takes two of them to make it.
It does.
But I'm kind of like on board with, the male gets the pregnancy. I'm on board with that. But yeah, I think it's just, I don't agree with the way a lot of people handle this, but I understand that fear of upsetting the norms that
the natural balance of things, if you will.
It's not even that. I mean, that's what people will tell themselves. Well, it's the natural way of doing things, but really it's what I know, what I feel safe in, what I feel comfortable in. And if you pull that out from under me, I'm not sure where I'm going to land. I'm not sure what's under that floor that you just pulled out from under me. I'm scared about it, and I'm going to lash out. And the way to fix that isn't to call people bigots and yell at them and scream at them. The way to fix that is to have some empathy and understand them and try to help them get to the point where, oh, okay, well, if you move this piece, I'm still okay. There's another piece for me to stand. Oh, I get it now.
I agree with that statement.
But as soon as you start calling everybody names, they shut down. They're not going to hear anything you're saying. They're just going to dive deeper into that fear. So the call out culture bothers me because it's counterproductive.
100%.
It's not helping solve the problem.
My opinion on the matter is that the way that we rectify quote unquote hate speech, which I don't necessarily agree that a term hate speech actually has any place in society. I don't think.
Yeah.
I know that there are hateful things that are said, but I don't think labeling it as hate speech is correctly accurate.
Yeah.
I don't like. I think the way to better speech is more speech, not cutting it off.
Yes.
But on that note, I do want to ask you, do you think that it was a good idea that Twitter has permanently disbanded Donald John Trump's Twitter account?
No, all they did was make a martyr of him. That's all they did was add cachet to this. I'm the outsider. They're all trying to get me. They hate me. All they did was validate everything he said.
See, I think they made him a fucking I think they made him a skid mark on the underpants of society by taking his Twitter away, because that boy literally took his ball and went home. Well, his ball got taken away and he went home.
Yeah. But
I don't agree with it though. I don't agree with it though.
No.
Not in principle. Not in principle.
No,
I don't like that slope. I don't like that slope.
No.
Do I think that he did some things that were very, very, very bad?
Oh,
yes.
God, yes.
I personally think that he did help, if not incite, what happened at the Capitol on January 6th. But I think that removing
I don't think he actually planned it, but there was definitely a lot of
shit. That man hasn't planned a damn thing.
Yeah, exactly. But there was definitely a lot of wink, wink.
That's been the story of his entire life.
Yeah.
Thank God he's not smarter than he is.
Right.
Like, honestly, thank everything that you hold, that I hold dear, that he is not smarter.
Yeah.
That man was his biggest enemy the entirety of his time in power.
And that was one of the things that frustrated me with, media stories. It's like one day he's so stupid he can't tie his own shoes without help. But the next day he's some evil genius plotting this. Pick one, would you? Because they're mutually exclusive. Either he's
I'll pick one.
Shoes, or he's an evil genius. He can't be both.
Did you ever watch the show on this was probably 20 or so years ago on the Animaniacs? Did you ever watch Pinky and the Brain?
Yep.
Do you know what the conspiracy theory around Pinky and the Brain is?
There's a conspiracy theory?
Oh, you haven't. In my brain. Oh my goodness.
No, I try to stay away from those.
So, I love them. I love them so much. I'm having a gentleman on the show this week. His name's Dan Shelley, and he's an Alex Jones-esque character in the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
He's honestly not a bad dude. He definitely just likes to push buttons a little bit. He's kind of crazy, but I literally have a tinfoil hat made to go on with him, and a bottle of tequila and some Mountain Dew Baja Blast. We're going to have a great time. We're going to have a great time. Shout out to Dan Shelley.
I love it.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But regardless, the theory by some online, and I'm just going to say it comes from Wall Street Bet subreddit, even though that's not where it comes from. So Pinky and the Brain, their goal is to take over the world every night. Right. That's what they say to each other. What are we going to do tonight, Pinky? The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world. Yep. And the theory is that Brain is actually the idiot of the bunch, and Pinky is the genius that prevents the world being taken over by some homicidal idiot.
Oh, man.
And when I heard that, like,
you actually kind of see that
a few years ago, yeah, Donna, it blew my mind. Like, it's not that far out of the realm.
Wait, I can actually kind of see that one. Conspiracy theories just like crack me up because I get it. We have brains that are wired to see patterns, whether they're there or not. It's a survival thing. It's an evolutionary benefit. But, you know, we want to say A leads to B leads to C. And because we believe that, we'll just go straight from A to C and skip B altogether and say, see, we got there.
Pythagoras would be so upset.
Yeah, well, most conspiracy theories rely on people behaving in ways that are absolutely opposite of how normal human beings behave. They require vast numbers of people to completely keep secrets from everyone around them for long periods of time. And I'm sorry, we all know this doesn't work. Anybody who has a secret is going to blab it to somebody because you just can't not. You know a secret. You have to tell somebody.
Tell me about it. It's so
because you have to show that you've got knowledge someone else doesn't have.
You can't not spill those beans.
Exactly.
Do you believe in any of the conspiracy theories, though, Donna? I'm curious.
Not really. No, I'm such a rationalist. It's crazy.
Do you think JFK was killed by Lee Harvey Oswald?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you think Lee Harvey Oswald had any connection to the KGB?
No.
Okay.
No.
Was the moon landing was the moon landing faked?
Oh dear God in heaven, no.
How old is the Earth?
Billions of years.
Are dinosaurs real?
Of course they are.
Was 9/11 an inside job? Damn it, I was really counting on that one. I'm just kidding. I actually read all like 1,048 pages of the 9/11 Commission once upon a time years ago.
Were you having trouble sleeping?
No, actually, I've never had trouble sleeping. I've been a consummate pothead since I was
dear
like
God, that would put anybody to sleep.
Well, it was so I was in undergrad the first time. I thought I wanted to be a CIA agent.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
I was a freshman in high school when 9/11 happened. Mm-hmm. And my homeroom moderator where it happened, he was a former Marine. Shout out Mr. Hudak. He was a hard man.
Yep.
But he was fair. And he had a
that's a Marine.
He had so much integrity behind everything that he did. He was so consistent.
That's a Marine.
You know, I that man used to scare me a little bit, and then I resented him for a year, and then I realized, holy shit, he's like one of the realest dudes, and I actually owe him.
Yeah.
As a fellow American kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I had a little stint where I wanted to be a CIA agent. I even bought Rosetta Stone Arabic, thinking I was going to go to the Middle East.
Yep. Wow.
And then I read the 9/11 Commission. I read The Legacy of Ashes, which is a declassified history of the CIA that was circa what, 2006, 7?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, all that fucking glass menagerie shattered real quick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the CIA are not our friends.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of wanted to be a participant in Operation MK Ultra.
Ooh.
Am I so wrong for wanting to get laced with acid by a hooker in a New York City brothel, and she has sex with me, and then I have to wonder what's going on for 7 or 8 hours? Like, I'm probably not going to go crazy from that. I've done worse in my own physical life, let alone
you just be Joe Biden's son to do that.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think he was doing like the LSD. I think he wanted the quick fix. All right.
Yeah. Right.
You go for crack. That's a quick fix.
That's
straight
work,
to the
man.
bloodstream.
He is a piece of work.
Oh yeah.
But you know what?
A lot of these kids are.
growing up in that kind of a family, under the scrutiny all the time, after his brother died and everything, I can understand why he's a messed up dude.
Yeah, man.
Can.
Not everybody's built like this. Not everybody's built like Joe. Like Joe didn't buckle.
Yeah.
Although being a career politician is kind of buckling. I still don't understand how that's a thing. I still don't understand how you can serve.
It was never
40 years of your life being a representative.
Never intended to be that way.
Unless you're in the military, I could never understand how that's a thing.
Term limits, man. Term limits. Can we please have term limits?
Well, here's my estimation. Here's my preferred movement forward is that you have 2 terms within a state body, whether that be a state rep, whether that be a state senator. You get 2 terms total for that. If you want to run for governor after that or lieutenant governor, you have 2 shots at that. That's it. Because that's level up. That's level 2. All right.
Yep.
You made it through the first 3 sets of Super Mario Brothers. You get a shot. All right. You get 2 shots. That's it. After that, if you want to run on a federal level, 2 terms. That's it. You either get 1 shot at rep, you either get 1 shot at senator, or 2. That's it. That's it. Yeah. If you want to run for the highest levels of office and you get in there, you get 2 terms. That's it. If you're vice president for 8 years, like Joe Biden was for Barack, you don't get to run for president.
You're done.
That's it. That's it. You get 2 terms at every level, and that's it.
Oh, I agree.
Local, same thing. You get 2 shots. That's it. And if you don't win, that's one of your shots.
Yeah. No kidding.
That gets marked off. That's the fucking punch card on your loyalty rewards for being a person in public office.
Yeah, right.
You only get 10.
Honestly, I would like to see presidency be one and done. And I would like to make it a 6-year term instead of 4.
I'm lukewarm on that.
I think 4 is not quite enough because you're talking about economic policy and other things that take time to grow.
I agree with that.
But my problem with having a second term is you spend your whole first term pandering to run for your second.
It's what everybody does in politics now.
So
it was January 10th that we were talking about the 2022 election and 24. And it's like,
well, let's cut that all out at the presidency, give you your 6 years and you're done. You're not running for anything. You're done.
Have you heard of the thing called Project? No, it's not Project Veritas. It's Brett Weinstein and Eric Weinstein. Do you know who these guys are?
I know who Brett Weinstein is.
So Brett's brother Eric has proposed this political platform. I forget that it's not Project Veritas because that's the guys who are like going around
they're
trying to help incarcerated prisoners. But anyway, the Weinstein brothers have proposed this political movement where they take centrist left, centrist right. You run one of them as president the first year and one of them as a vice president on their ticket that year. And then the next time the election comes around, they flip.
Oh, wow.
And if you have 2 really good people, like say a General William H. McRaven, who oversaw the raid that took out bin Laden during Obama's term and was a lifelong servant in the military, centrist right, reasonable man, knows how a lot of those things works, and take somebody who's a populist figure that's center left, like The Rock, and you put them on a ticket. That's just a hypothetical of 2 people. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be opposed to Tulsi Gabbard being on.
Oh, I love Tulsi Gabbard.
I don't, but I think she'd be really good for the politics of this country.
Yes.
Somebody like Stacey Abrams on a ticket. I know that she's a leftist, but like, you know what she gets people to do? She gets them to vote. And that's all she does is she just gets them to vote. And I'd love to see somebody like that as being like, hey, my championship as the vice president is to get people to come out and participate in this and vote.
Yeah. You know, that's one of the takeaways from the last election is that no matter how you look at it, yes, okay, there were probably some irregularities because we changed a lot of voting systems fast. So yeah, there were going to be fuck ups. I mean, come on. The post office can't deliver normal mail. I mean, seriously, I have friends that literally just got Christmas cards that were mailed in November. You know, okay, so yeah, there were probably some irregularities. Set all that aside, more people voted this time than have ever.
Voted.
The participation rate was the highest it's ever been. That's a freaking wonderful thing.
That's a win. That's a win for American democracy.
Yes. Can you all come out the next time too? And oh yeah, the primaries when it really matters.
How about the local primaries where it really, 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 really matters?
Mm-hmm.
The local primaries are the ones that matter.
Yes.
And it's still, it's,
yes.
It's the unfortunate nature of the growth of our service society to be at a point where we appease so many different things and we take from different things to get there, that it's a denigration of the education system in terms of what actually makes our society function. It's all good and fair to learn mathematics and to learn some history, but if you don't understand civics,
you're done.
Monetary theory and how those two things go together more than anything else.
Oh yeah.
Then we're not teaching the correct stuff.
No, we're not. And we stopped teaching a lot of, I mean, I had an entire year of civics. That was it. That was social studies. My senior year was civics, including straight down to, they had a voting machine that they showed us how to use to cast our votes. They showed us how to fill out our tax forms, all of that.
That's awesome.
We had to write letters to our Congress people on issues. You know, we had the whole list of this is your House representative, this is your Senate representative, this is your Pennsylvania state representative, here's your mayor, here's your township commissioners, here's how you address them. If you want to write to them, here's what their proper titles are, here's how you address them.
Here's when city hall meetings are. Here's how you, like, the things you got to know, like.
Yes.
Incredible. You understand, you start to understand zoning laws, you start understanding governmental contracts, you start to understand the actual ramifications of legal liabilities that have been set forth by laws that have been made by a duly elected body. And you start to get a fucking understanding and a fundamental foundation of how our society actually functions. It is not sunshine and rainbows and TikTok. It is the grueling, slow pace of litigation and how we create laws. And if there's one thing America is really good at, really, like, honestly, I have to say, America has gotten pretty good at this, is the slow but continuation of progress towards some equity. Now our information gathering and information sharing has ramped up 16,000 fold in the last 20 years. And our brains haven't caught up to that, which is why, you know, as somebody who is a liberal, who identifies as a liberal, who votes Democrat majority of the time. But I understand that there is a slow progress to things. So to expect all of these wish list things to happen in the next election, in the next 2 years, in the next cycle,
it doesn't work that way.
The people that don't have a fundamental grasp on how it actually works is going to set everything back some, and it's continuing to create the divide that we see amongst each other. And we need to be able to just have this kind of cocktail and conversation to flesh out the actual truths and understand where we can make a difference, how we can make a difference, and how the shit actually works. And again, I'm an idiot, so I don't know, but like, I think I have an idea.
That is part of the problem, is that people have become so separated from the actual mechanics of the world they live in. And part of it is the loss of community. You know, there was a time when most people knew who their town councilors were because, well, it's Joe next door and Peggy's husband and, you know, whatever. They knew the people. Now we live in our suburbs of little McMansions with our little plot, and you don't even know the neighbors' names. You don't know them from Adam because we don't talk to each other. We sit in our houses in front of our keyboards and shit post on social media.
And there's no consequence to it.
No, if you said that stuff to someone with them in the room, you're liable to get your lights punched out. But, you know, you type in on a forum somewhere, well,
But an administrator 2,000, 3,000 miles away should not be the person that decides that gets taken down either.
No. And that's, I keep making this point to people that, well, this shouldn't be allowed. You shouldn't be allowed to say that. You shouldn't be allowed to say it. Well, who gets to decide? Well, these people decide. Okay, well, what happens when inevitably the worm turns and the people that you don't agree with are the ones who get to decide? Because it will happen. It will happen. It always happens. The world is cyclical. It always happens. The ones who are at the bottom now and you don't like them and you're censoring them eventually will come around and they'll be on the top, and it'll be their turn to decide who gets to say what. And you will have started the precedent of, well, the people who are up here are the ones that get to decide, and what they say goes. And then you're going to be, oh, well, I didn't mean that. The law of unintended consequences always wins. Always.
That's because Newton got for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. That is one of those things that cannot be unproven. Yes. And like I enjoy following Elon Musk very much. I think he is a brilliant man. Who doesn't communicate his thoughts as well as he could, but that's okay. It's because he's so smart.
It's the way he's wired. Yeah.
But when it comes to limitations of the laws of physics, he's the first one to say, no, you can't go past that. He's not this salesman of like, oh yeah, well maybe no. There is a finite capacity to electrical batteries. The only thing that we can do is build bigger ones to increase our capabilities. There is not any physical way that we know of right now in order to do this better. You know, and people that talk like that are very, very, very valuable.
Yes.
The way that we move forward in this quote unquote post-truth world.
Yeah.
Like where there's the doctoring of videos, there is the manipulation of quotes, there is the taking out of context, there is the intentional lack of context, and it's beyond infuriating. And I will say this, Donna, I will say this to you, and I will say this to anybody who ever listens to this show. This is a place where you can come on and you can say whatever you want. Just know that there is going to be a consequence to that. There is going to be a retort, an affirmation, a disagreement, a challenge, a question, a whatever. Because we have come too far and have had it too easy that we do not get pushback. And when there's pushback, it's just like, oh, fuck you, man. Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm tougher than you. Done with it. That's
part of what we've lost too, is the ability to effectively argue, because it immediately goes to the personal, to the ad hominem of, well, you're just a bad person, you're evil, you're stupid, you're
ugly.
You're
not really a he. You're a she.
Don't argue the person.
Just go for the deepest. Yeah.
I had made a comment about Dr. Rachel Levine that I wasn't impressed with the way she handled certain things. And, to be fair, her professional experience is as a pediatrician. And even more than that, a pediatrician that specializes in eating disorders, which is a very important specialty.
Agreed.
And I'm certain that she is an absolutely outstanding pediatrician. But we're asking her to handle an infectious disease pandemic. Not exactly her wheelhouse.
Where we still have inconclusive information about children and how it functions within them and the rest of us.
So I made a comment that I wasn't really impressed with the way she handled certain things. And immediately I got hammered as being a transphobic bigot. Now, I found that hilarious.
Me too. I find that fucking hilarious.
Because I have a transgender son whom I adore. I'm just like, oh, you people just don't know. I was like, just because she's transgender doesn't mean that everything she does is without question. The same standards apply. I'm talking about her professional capabilities and how she handled a specific situation in those capabilities. Just because she's transgender doesn't mean she's blameless.
Agreed, wholeheartedly.
It was like, oh no, you're only just doing that because she's transgender. No, I don't care. I don't care about her plumbing. I care about her professional credentials. They're not the same thing. I mean, unless they're in certain lines of work.
Listen, I make the same fucking comparison as somebody who works in restaurants, and we get criticized all the time by people who don't do that. It's like, Richard, you're a fucking mechanic. You are not a chef with 12 years of experience who went through however many years of culinary training and God knows what else in terms of what you do and do not know. So like the presumption that like, oh my God, my well done burger was undercooked. Let me take to Yelp to fucking tell everybody.
Well, you know, he slept at a Holiday Inn Express last night. He's an expert now.
I'm sure the bacon was amazing in the morning.
But yeah, we got to get past this not letting people speak about anything. If you don't like what they said, rebut the argument. Don't attack the person, rebut the argument.
Ask a question.
As soon as you go to attacking the person, what you told me is you can't rebut the argument. And the only thing you have left is attack the person. So I immediately discount everything you're going to say, because if you had a valid argument, you would have brought it out.
Yeah.
Instead, you're going to call names like you're a 6-year-old on the playground.
We lack substance.
Very much so.
Because there are a litany of reasons that I could personally point to, but at this point in the night, like, I mean, like, we lack substance. We need to move forward.
Yeah.
And I think you and I have a good understanding of what it takes, and that's engagement. That's genuine consideration for those around us. It's not just giving them a place to speak. It's the actual considerate engagement.
Yes.
And this is a place where we can do that.
Yeah.
And
I always want to know why. Why do you think that? Why do you feel that? How did you get to this place where you believe those things? Who
said that to you?
Show me on the doll where the bad man touched you.
Oh shit. Hang on. No, I'm kidding. Donna, on that note, it's been a wonderful conversation.
It has.
I want to have you back on again sometime in the near future.
I've had a blast.
As when we open up and we can do this stuff in person,
I want to do this
at a bar with a group of our friends where we sit around and we have a conversation about this kind of stuff.
The fine art of bullshit.
There's so much truth to be found in here.
Oh, there's
so much to talk about. There's so much more in front of us. And honestly, we can, in my opinion, there's a lot of positive to take away from stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Not everything is negative. We have an opportunity.
No.
We have a vacuum we have a vortex of space that needs to be filled in a vacuum.
Yep.
With good information. And we have an opportunity to do that. So let's do that.
Yeah.
And Donna, thank you so much for spending time with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
It was an absolute pleasure. I will catch you sometime soon. And ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you like, subscribe, post everything to Mind Your P's and Q's. We're on Facebook, Instagram. We're going to be on Spotify starting this week. We're on YouTube. We'll catch you guys soon. Thank you.